We just want to make a note. We will be using the sound of bells during this retreat, but we'll try to say something when we're about to invite a bell. So, for those of you who are sensitive to that, we are going to begin.
Okay.
We are, we are going to begin by arriving.
Okay, so, wow, now I can see everyone. Welcome. We're going to take a moment to transition from what we've been doing into a practice. So it's just a short arrival practice. So I'll invite you to allow your eyes to close softly, or you can glance down towards the space in front of you. So settling into a posture of ease and comfort, whatever that may look like for you. And bringing your attention into the body, right down to where the body's connecting to what you're sitting on, the floor. Feeling the weight of you grounded. And also sensing the height of you rising through the back, the neck, the head. And allowing the shoulders to relax downwards. You might like to greet yourself with an inner smile of welcome. So allowing the outer edges of the eyes to perhaps rise up into an inner smile. Allowing the face to be soft. You might start sensing how the whole body moves as you breathe. There is a subtle expansion on the in-breath and a softening on the out-breath. You might notice how the body is nourished as you breathe in and relaxes back down as you breathe out. So just resting here, resting, feeling the whole body breathing. And perhaps enjoying this rocking motion. And as a way to arrive to this mini retreat, I'd like to read a few lines from a poem by the poet Dorothy Hunt. Do you think peace will come some other place than here? Some other time than now? In some other heart than yours? Peace is this moment without judgment. That is all. This moment in the heart space where everything that is welcome. Peace is this moment without thinking that it should be some other way, that you should feel some other thing, that your life should unfold according to your plans. Peace is this moment without judgment. This moment in the heart space where everything that is welcome. So I'll end this arrival practice with the sound of a bell.
Thank you so much, Siri. Hi, everyone. My name is Ben Weinstein. I'm sitting in Bangkok, Thailand. I'm a clinical psychologist and I'm a teacher of mindful self-compassion. Thank you so much for taking time to join this retreat, Beyond Acceptance, Awakening the Power of Appreciation. We're going to spend the majority of the next 2 hours practicing, developing what is described in that beautiful poem. The peace that finds its way into our hearts in this moment, when we're able to thread the needle of avoiding judgment and evaluation. And we want to talk a little bit about this. So I'm gonna, Siri and I want to give folks a frame because we know that some folks are beginners. And it's always good to be a beginner. And some folks are experienced meditators. So I'm gonna teach about this a little bit, and then Siri's gonna talk about meditation, and then we're gonna start. Remembering that the most important part is the practice. I am going to put up some PowerPoint slides and teach some ideas. So you guys know where we're coming from. But remember, the Buddha teaches that when the finger points at the moon, the finger is not the moon. So we have to remember that about words and teaching. Words and teaching are the finger pointing. But what's more important than that is the practice, which is why I'm going to try to teach quickly so that we have more time for the practice, more time for the moon and less time for the finger. I'm going to share my screen now because I am incapable of teaching without PowerPoint. So we're going to, one of the things we need to understand is that part of our human nature is that we are always judging and evaluating. Your brain is a machine, and this machine has developed over millions of years. The dinosaurs, hundreds of millions of years ago, they had a similar brain to the one that is sitting in your head right now. This is a machine that nature developed. We're not the only ones who have one, and ours have developed very specially, although your brain is not special in the sense that it is not different than my brain or the brain of all of us in this call or all of us around this planet. And in part, it's a machine for judging and evaluating. Everything we come in contact with, your brain immediately and automatically judges it. I want to emphasize this. You are not in control of this. You might think that you are choosing these judgments, But if you look carefully, and we're going to try to look carefully, you may start to see that the judgments are arising of themselves. And in part, they flow from our experience in the past. And they fall into three basic categories. They will either be positive judgments, neutral judgments, or negative judgments. I like this, I don't like it. This is good or this is bad. I want it or I don't want it. We either it's okay to approach this, it's okay to go toward it, or I need to avoid this. It's pleasurable or it's going to be painful. Or of course somewhere in the middle, neutral. Meh. And this is just something your mind does. And what's really, really important about this is that your mind's doing this automatically, and many of your judgments have been shaped by experiences you had a decade ago, 20 years ago, 30 years ago, maybe last week or last year. And then these judgments become automatic. And they lead to a sense of knowing. I know what this is. And one of the things we need to appreciate about that is that when we have the sense, I know what this is, our mind immediately closes and moves on. And this is really important. And again, I can't emphasize this point strongly enough. This is not your fault. This is not something you're choosing. This is just part of being a normal human being. And what's really important, knowing that we make these judgments automatically and that this is wired between our brain and our body. It's also our nature to resist things we perceive as negatives. We have a built-in reaction to move away from anything we perceive as a negative. Built into this brain, built by hundreds of millions of years of development. And this is really important because all of us have old patterns and habits we'd like to change. But these automatic judgments drive automatic behaviors. It's just part of being human. One of the beautiful things that people have discovered about mindfulness is that mindfulness dissolves this automaticity, this automatic nature of responding with judgments and evaluations, and then engaging in old patterns and old habits. Mindfulness has a solvent quality. It doesn't mean we control the judgments, but when we can see them, they take on a different character. And of course, mindfulness has become very popular. We're all interested in mindfulness and we practice mindfulness. And of course, we've been told we've got to practice acceptance. So if you're just, part of mindfulness is accepting things. If you just accept it, then you have mindfulness. So it's really important to understand that this has led to a kind of development for many of us of what I would call a kind of fake acceptance. And faked acceptance is acceptance in the service of resistance. I accept this so that it will go away. So again, and I don't mean that it's not judgmental, but I use the word fake acceptance because I think it strikes a chord with people. It's acceptance as an extension of our very human desire to feel in control. I have to tell you, I'm a little bit of a control freak. Anyone who's ever worked with me, right? I like to be on top of stuff. Let me be really clear with you. Like Siri and I have an outline. We have an outline. I'm holding up my computer, right? Siri and I have an outline that we're working from, right? Because I want to know what's going to happen and I want to know what's going to go on in the retreat, right? It's human to want to control stuff. But when we accept something in order so that it will go away, that's kind of fake acceptance. That's not real acceptance. True acceptance is when we're fully present and open to our experience. And again, I want to be clear. This kind of fake acceptance is part of being human. And you'll know it when you do it, because you have the feeling like, I accepted it and the acceptance didn't work. I was really accepting and it didn't work. If you have that feeling like I accepted it and it didn't go away, that's fake acceptance. And smile at that moment, because all that means is you're human. So we're going to talk about going beyond this. And this always happens with acceptance. And in fact, I don't like that word anymore, and I try not to use it. I think appreciation is a much better word. Appreciation reflects the true characteristics of acceptance and the true characteristics of mindfulness, starting from curiosity. Curiosity is the seed of appreciation, because curiosity is the opposite of, I know what that is. Curiosity is, what is this? Ooh, that's interesting. There's even a sound of curiosity, right? Ooh, right? Interest. And of course, folks recognize this. Wise people have recognized this for thousands of years and refer to it as a quality of beginner's mind. What if I start from the point of, I don't know this? This is the beginning. Taking an interest and asking, what is this, is the start of appreciation. Because appreciation is a form of openness and taking in. And that's the original meaning of the word appreciation. I went to the dictionary this week to look up appreciation. And the original meaning, when this word was first used in around 1500 in the English language, was to make an estimate. To take something in. And of course, appreciation is not separate from mindfulness, it's part of mindfulness. Mindfulness opens the door to appreciation, and appreciation increases our mindfulness. Please don't think of them as separate. They're really the same. I'm just using different words. Where mindfulness is really this kind of curiosity of what's happening right now. And really importantly, as we'll talk about, self-compassion is recognizing ourselves as human and saying, well, when this is happening, what do I need? But the start of even self-compassion is just recognizing whatever I'm feeling, whatever is happening, this is part of being human. So there are some different levels of appreciation that we're going to explore today. And what's really important is, please don't judge or evaluate these as good or bad or right or wrong. Just see where you can land. Again, this seed of appreciation is just curiosity. We're really going to try and foster curiosity about our senses and our breathing and our thoughts and our feelings and our bodies today in this retreat. The next level of appreciation is permission. You're saying, whatever it is that's here, I'm not going to fight with it. It's the conscious choice to not fight. I allow it. And of course, sometimes that'll be easy and sometimes it won't. Lastly, next is welcoming. I welcome this. I smile to it and allow it to be here. The next is gratitude. I'm thankful this can happen. Imagine, just think about someone who might have pain, the pain of arthritis in their hand. What would it be like? And again, ordinarily we want to judge it. Maybe even we want to get rid of this hand. But what would it be like to be like? And of course, I hope anyone who does have pain will do whatever it is that works best for you to manage that pain. I'm just using this as an example. What would it be like to actually be able to say, oh, the pain is here. I wonder what that's like. I'm not going to fight with the pain or curse the pain. My body's in pain and I allow that to be the case. And in fact, I might be even grateful because I still have a hand. And this pain is a sign that I still have a hand. And I'm glad I still have a hand. Again, I don't think that this is easy. And we should stay at the level where we feel comfortable at this moment. And I think the last level that I could think of, and is a level I call, what if this is the best part? For example, what if tomorrow my pain will be 5 times worse? And tomorrow I'll be wishing, oh, I wish I could go back to yesterday. Yesterday was okay. What if, in fact, it will turn out in the light of things that this moment is actually a really good moment? What if this moment is one of the best moments of my life? I know that that may sound bizarre. And I remember the first time I learned this practice, and it just bubbled up from within me when I was learning mindfulness, when I had first arrived in Thailand and lived in a small 250 square foot apartment, 25 square meter apartment that we paid $100 a month for on the other side of the river from here, like an hour away from where I live now. And one day I was down by the river going to get a boat to come to this part of town. And of course I was hurrying somewhere. I was hurrying and trying to get to the boat. And all of a sudden I stopped. I looked around, I looked at the river. I realized it was kind of getting to sunset. So the sun with the light was kind of gone from harsh to beautiful. There was a cool breeze coming off the river, as there always is in Bangkok. And I stopped and I felt that. I felt the breeze. I saw the sunlight. And I asked myself, wait a minute. What if this moment is actually the best part? What if this is one of the best moments of my life? I'm hurrying somewhere to accomplish something. And I can still remember that moment and enjoy it. Usually we can't remember the moments when we're on our way somewhere else and thinking about something else. So this is a kind of appreciation. I paused to appreciate that moment, and it happened to be a neutral or positive moment. I wasn't in pain or stressed, maybe a little bit stressed. Anyway, this is food for thought. This is some food for thought of how we're going to explore the idea of appreciation and awaken this tremendous power of mindfulness, appreciation, and self-compassion as we practice together today.
Okay, so that story about what if this were the best part, it reminds me of an interview that was once given to the Dalai Lama. He had just finished a book on happiness, and the interviewer asked him, what was your happiest moment in your life? And he paused, and then a little mischievous smile came over his face, and he said, I think right now. So you can bring that into your moments. So I'll just speak a little bit about meditation and silence before we start practicing. Meditation, there's so many different meanings for meditation. And I'll just mention the Tibetan translation is to familiarize with. So what we're offering here is to familiarize ourselves with who we are, to gain a deeper understanding of how the mind works, familiarize ourselves with what it's like to be fully human. And the practice of mindfulness, it's sometimes described as having two wings like a bird. And Ben kind of mentioned the two wings in other words. So the first wing is that wing of mindfulness. When we're practicing, it's noticing, seeing clearly what's here right now. What's the truth of this moment? And then the second wing is the wing of compassion, of heartfulness. Can I hold what's here with kindness, with care? So that's what we're going to be doing. It's really helpful to let go of any expectations about how you think this should go or how you think you should feel. Because what we're doing is we're just coming back into our moment again and again and offering ourselves acceptance and appreciation and kindness. and see what happens. And what's interesting is when we meditate, almost everything in life, in terms of our joys, our fears, our desires, our urges, motivations, they all show up when we sit. And when we can sit and learn to be with what arises and see it clearly, then we can develop a wisdom towards it so that what we learn in meditation can kind of transfer over into life. For example, I might be sitting and meditating and I might start feeling really irritated and I might start noticing my irritation thoughts, and then I might notice what's happening in the body. And if I can sit there and be with it and get really interested, like, wow, what's going on here, and not react, then in daily life, when I start feeling irritated, I'll be like, oh, irritation is here. Oh, let's take a look at this. And that gives me time to pause, breathe, and then respond if that's the wisest thing to do or not. So for these practices, we encourage you as best as you can to drop below the neck, so to speak. A lot of us live up here in our heads. We get very conceptual. We start intellectualizing things, and we can judge and analyze. We don't need to do that for the next hour and a half. The invitation is to really drop into the body and be there. You'll notice at times you'll come up into the head and start chatting away with yourself, just noticing, and then as best you can coming back into the body. Posture for this mini retreat, your choice. You can sit on a chair, sit on a cushion, you can lie down, stand up. What's most important is ease and comfort, and we'll be giving some guidance with posture as we go along. If any difficulty happens during these practices, feel free to just stop practicing, take your attention elsewhere. You might want to take your attention to feeling the body connected to whatever you're sitting or lying on. You might like to take your attention to your shopping list or have a cup of tea, take a break. Your choice. We trust that you know yourself best. And as Ben mentioned, you don't need to believe anything we share. What we're sharing has been shared with us by our teachers. So the invitation is to just listen with an open mind and explore for yourself what's true for you. The silence is here because it draws our attention inwards, and our ability to stay with our moments more continuously is easier when we know that we don't have to talk. It's really nourishing, and there's a real richness in silence. When we're silenced, we come to notice things that usually we don't notice because we're maybe too busy talking. But the sights, the sounds, the smells come into greater clarity. It's not hard to stay silent on Zoom because everybody's muted. But with that said, when we're practicing, it's advised actually not to use the chat if you have a deep insight. You might have an insight and you might want to share it with everyone. Notice that urge. You can jot down your insight on a piece of paper if you like. But if you write it on the chat, then that can get us up into that thinking conceptual mind again. And really the invitation is to shift into the sensing and being mode. And we also encourage you to turn off your phones, emails. You don't need to do that for the next half hour, so you can experiment with not multitasking. If you have any difficulty during a practice and you really would like to connect with Ben or myself, then you can send us a private chat message and we'll get back to you. It's best to message the person who's not leading the practice. And you can have your video on or off. Up to you. Your choice. Okay, back to Ben.
Thank you. So let me invite you now to be ready for some practice. Letting your hands be empty, putting aside phone, device, pens, finding a position where you feel relaxed. A position where you feel that you'll be able to stay alert and upright, and also one in which you'll be able to relax. In this practice, we're going to see if we can keep our minds in the state that Siri's just mentioned, of being present and curious. Seeing if we can notice judgments and evaluations, thoughts, without being lost in them, noticing them for what they are and coming back to our direct experience. And we're going to begin with sounds. So as you settle into wherever you are right now, I'd like to invite you to bring your awareness to any of the sounds that you're hearing right now. And I'm going to help by inviting the sound of a bell. Just one sound of a bell. Just bringing your awareness to any sounds that are available and noticing your direct experience of hearing. You don't need to judge or analyze. Whatever you're hearing right now is not right or wrong or good or bad. So when you notice judgments arising, just smiling at them and coming back to the sounds. Moving on to your sense of touch. Taking a moment to be aware of your contact with your seat. Just feeling the contact of your body wherever you're seated right now. Again, taking a moment to notice any judgments or evaluations, any thoughts that arise. And whenever you notice judgments or thoughts, just smile. All it means is you have a brain and you're human. And see if you can very gently guide your mind back to this experience. Noticing anything else that you're aware of with your sense of touch right now. Any other sensations you can feel along your skin. Perhaps the contact of your clothes or the movement of the air in the room. Anything else that you're aware of in your sense of touch. And if you like, if it feels right, if it feels like something you can do without forcing it, perhaps just taking a moment for a tiny inner smile for having this sense of touch. Being able to feel the contact. Moving on to your sense of sight, even with your eyes closed, noticing whatever is happening in your visual field right now. Perhaps a little bit of light leaking in, perhaps there's patterns in the blankness, in the darkness. Just bring in the quality of, oh, what's happening in my visual field right now? What is this? And again, if you notice any thoughts, any judgments, oh, this doesn't make sense. I don't see anything. Or am I doing it right? Seeing if you can smile at those. Yes, I'm still human. And staying with what's available in your sight at this moment. Moving on to your sense of smell. Taking a moment to notice any aromas. We have quite strong reactions to smells. So noticing any judgments, thoughts, especially if you inhale and there's an aroma and you know it and your mind immediately says, oh, that's citrus, or oh, that's the smell of my perfume. See if you can go farther and go, what is this? What does this smell like? What this aroma is, what's this direct quality of smelling? And of course, if there's no aroma, staying with what that is like. Moving on to your sense of taste. So noticing any flavors that you might feel through your sense of taste at this moment. Perhaps the leftover flavor of coffee for those of us who are in our mornings. Perhaps something from your dinner for those of us who are in our evenings. And again, noticing any judgments. Oh, I should have brushed my teeth. No. Any evaluations that come up. Seeing if you can notice them, smile at them, and direct your attention back to your direct experience of taste. And as we go on, I'd like to invite you to give yourself permission, if it feels right for you, to stay with any of these senses or to come back to any of these senses at any point. If you like being with sounds or you're more curious about that, feel free to come back and spend some time with hearing. If you find that staying with contact engages your curiosity and appreciation, please feel free to come back and stay with contact. See if you can give yourself permission to be with what engages you. If it feels right, I'd like to invite you to bring your awareness inside your body now. Taking a moment to scan through the landscape of your body and notice what's present right now. Whenever you notice something, seeing if you can be aware of the automaticity of the judgments that come up. I like it. I don't like it. Why am I feeling this way? What is this? What am I going to do with this? Seeing if you can notice that. Smile at it and come back to the direct experience of whatever it is that's present in your body at this moment. Perhaps if you notice a sensation in your chest or your tummy, asking yourself, ooh, what is this? What does this feel like? And perhaps if you notice something you don't like a bit of muscle tension or fatigue, perhaps saying, I allow this to be here. I give permission to myself to be feeling this way right now. If it feels right for you, perhaps having a little bit of gratitude for having a body. If it feels like something you can do without forcing or pushing yourself, not a should, but just a sense of, I'm glad I have this body right now. Whether I'm feeling pleasure or feeling pain. And then gathering your awareness and seeing if you can find your breath somewhere in your body. Just finding the place where you can feel the movement of your body breathing, wherever it is that you can feel it. Feeling your breath flowing in, and feeling your breath flowing out. And again, seeing if you might notice any thoughts or judgments that come up when you make contact with your breath. Any telling yourself, this is too shallow, I need to make it longer. Some tendency to try and judge or control the breath. When you notice that, just smile. You're human. And see if you can come back to the direct experience of feeling your body breathe. Perhaps feeling each breath as if you were feeling a breath for the very first time. Research shows that the pattern of neurons firing in your brain is different for every single breath. So, in fact, every breath is unique. How does this breath feel? And taking a moment, if it feels right, perhaps, to smile at the breath. Perhaps to enjoy this breath just as it is right now, to feel grateful for this breath. Now, letting go of the breath, but staying with your eyes closed and just taking a moment to rest quietly in your body. In a moment, you'll hear another sound of the bell. So please listen and notice how this bell sounds, as if you never heard the sound of a bell before. After the sound of the bell, you can open your eyes, but we invite you to stay in silence. Let your hands be empty. Just being present with your moment to moment experience right here, right now.
So, to continue on in meditation, we'll be doing some movement practice, and I'll be doing this standing up. You're invited to stand up if that's available to you. Otherwise, you can do this seated or even lying down. So, whatever feels right to you. Oops. And the purpose of the movement practice is to be fully awake to our moments and tune in to this body and really appreciate this body's movements. And please know that we'll be doing very slow and gentle stretches. My instructions are only guidelines, so you know your body best. If something doesn't work for you or if you have an injury, improvisation is absolutely fine. Adapt, or you can even stand in stillness and just imagine yourself doing these stretches. And also, when we do these movements, we'll get to our limits, into like how far we can go. And when we reach our limit, the invitation is not to force yourself to go further than the body can go, but to actually relax and soften into those limits. So starting with your feet about hip distance apart, you can have the knees slightly unlocked, allowing your eyes to close softly or just glancing down towards the space in front of you. Arms at your sides. And just with this standing, you might notice that there's more energy here, rising up through the feet, ankles, legs, up through the torso. So sensing into the whole play of sensations that's here right now. So tuning into this body that has been with us since birth. Obviously, it's changed over the years, but also this body that will be with us until our last days. So bringing a sense of appreciation, acceptance, and then taking your attention right down to the feet, to the soles of the feet, and tuning into the strong connection of the feet with the floor. You might like to sway backwards, forwards, side to side, Doing this to gain a deeper awareness of the felt sense at the feet. And then coming back to steady standing. And then taking the arms out to the sides. So they're parallel to the floor, reaching the fingertips away from each other. And then allow the arms to continue floating upwards until the fingers are pointing up towards the sky. So reaching the arms, fingertips upwards, really appreciating this sense of lengthening whatever's here. You might want to bring your heels up and go onto tippy toes. You might need your eyes open for this. If you fall out, that's absolutely fine. But kind of getting playful here and feeling the wibbly wobbliness that's here if you try to get up onto your tippy toes. And then coming back to steady standing and allow your arms to again float down through space until they're resting by the sides of your body again. You might sense into the aliveness, the energy in the hands, the forearms, getting really curious. What is here right now? And can I hold it with kindness, with interest? And then allowing the arms to rise up again, floating up through space, staying connected to the whole dance of sensations as you do this. Reaching up, and then grabbing your left wrist with your right hand, growing taller on the in-breath, and on the out-breath, leaning over to the right. And then just kind of lingering here, breathing in length, bending a little bit further if that's available to you on the out-breath. If you notice judgments, just smiling inwardly and coming back to sensations. And then back up to center. We'll switch the grip, gripping your right wrist with the left hand, growing taller, and then bending over to the left. Tuning into that lovely stretch on the right side of the body. So really appreciating what the body can do. Back up to center, and allowing the arms to gently float down through space again. And noticing the effects of having done that movement. What is it like to really, really allow things to be just as they are? And now bringing the chin down towards the chest, letting there be a very generous bend in the knees. And we'll start to bend down, fold down into a forward fold. So allowing the lower back to release, the whole torso to release downwards. You can let your arms hang or hold the opposite elbow of each arm. You might like to sway here, just really tuning in to this body, this miracle of the human form moving. You might like to shake your head, yes or no. And then when you're ready, slowly rolling back up. Now lifting maybe the left foot so the thigh is parallel to the floor. And then start flexing, pointing the foot, rolling at the ankle. See if you can tune in to the very minuscule movements happening here in the bone, muscles, this area of the body that we don't usually pay attention to. And then switching to the other side. Is it possible to really feel into the ankle and appreciate and savor what's here? Coming back to standing again. And this time tuning in, doing a quick body scan from the head to the feet. If you notice areas of pleasantness, then perhaps savoring, appreciating the sensations of pleasantness, openness, softness. And if there's any areas of tightness or tension, allowing your attention to go there and then start moving in a way that feels really good. So if it's in your neck or shoulders, you might want to do some neck stretches, anything that feels right. It might be slow movements, or you might want to do a little jog in one place, or pretend you're on a mini trampoline, whatever feels right. So this is compassionate movement. It's noticing where there might be unease and then responding in a way that feels good. Feels good. And then again, back to steady standing. Noticing the effects of having done that. And saying yes, if possible, yes to any tingling vibration, any sensations of pressure, warmth, coolness. Peace is in this moment without judgment. And then when you're ready, coming back to a seated position or laying down if you wish, or you could stay standing and moving if that works for you. So Ben kind of went through our senses, appreciating, allowing what is here to be here. And as you've done these two meditations, you might have noticed that the mind wanders. That's what minds do. And often when we're practicing, we see thoughts as distractions. For example, if we're practicing on the breath, the mind wanders to thought, oh, distraction, and then we come back. Well, right now, we have the opportunity to actually bring thoughts center stage. So we're actually going to focus on thoughts and perhaps change our relationship to thoughts. Because thoughts can be so powerful. They have a lot of control over our lives when we're not noticing them. And we often view thoughts to be facts. We get really caught up in thoughts, get lost in their stories, and we believe them to be true. So we're going to have this opportunity to recognize thoughts as mental events, these events that pass through our mind. And we'll learn to step back and observe the thoughts coming and going. And when we can step back and observe them, they aren't so sticky. We're more able to see them arise, pass by, and dissolve away. So when we can do this, then we can decide, do we want to follow the story or not? But in this practice, we'll just be watching. So observing the thoughts, no need to get lost. Observing them, no need to feed the storyline. There's a saying, oceans have waves, and our minds have thoughts. We don't need to be swept away by them, so can we learn to sit back and observe? I just want to mention one thing that's very helpful in this practice is mental noting. So if you notice thinking happening, you might like to very silently whisper to yourself in a quiet voice, thinking. And that one word, thinking, helps some people have the space to notice without getting caught in the story. Also, when we see these mental events, some of us view them as, if we're visual, pictures, images, videos. Others are very more into the dialogue, mental chit-chat, talking. So you can explore how you experience these thoughts. One of my teachers, to help me get really interested in watching the thoughts, he said, imagine that you're on a really comfortable sofa with your best friend, and there's a huge TV screen in front of you, and your best friend has the remote. You're chilled out, relaxed, and your best friend is just clicking through like, oh, comedy, drama, mystery, documentary, and you're just chilled out, you're just watching, boom, 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 you're not getting caught up in any of the stories. Okay, so we're going to start with thoughts and then also go into emotions. So allowing your eyes to close softly, sensing into your posture again. Bringing your attention back into the body. Right down to where the body is connecting to what you're sitting on or lying on. You might like to take a few deeper than normal breaths to fully arrive in this moment. Knowing that throughout this practice, if you ever experience any difficulty or get lost in a story, you can always return to the breath to steady you and ground you before you continue on. So now shifting your attention away from the breath, letting the breath and awareness of the body slip into the background of your awareness. And we'll bring thinking center stage. So allowing the thoughts, the thought process to be what we focus on. I'm getting really interested how thoughts arise, pass by, and dissolve away. Many people find when they start this practice, there suddenly are no thoughts. And if this is the case for you, just resting in open awareness. And eventually the thoughts will come. Just observing these mental events. Some come and go quickly. Some linger, stay around for a while. But eventually they dissolve away. So the invitation is to just notice, observe. You might like to mentally note thinking. And as you do this, you might have an appreciation for this ability to actually notice thoughts. What's here right now? Your body in stillness, simply observing these mental events coming and going. It might be helpful to imagine the mind like an open, blue, spacious sky. And the thoughts are like clouds. The clouds are not the sky, and the thoughts are not the mind. Sometimes the thoughts appear that seem very wispy, drifting away quickly. Others feel heavier, darker, may take up the whole sky for a while. Clouds coming and going. thoughts coming and going. Just curious, watching. If you suddenly get lost in a thought and are no longer observing the thoughts, the moment you notice is a moment to celebrate. Because in that moment of noticing, you're fully here, back in this moment. And you might notice as you observe the thoughts that some are linked to emotions. A thought might trigger off frustration or happiness, contentment, irritation, peacefulness. So what emotions are here right now? They might be very subtle, or they might be highly charged. Getting curious, can you name the emotion that's here? You might notice how emotions are actually motions, physical sensations that move through the body and the mind, located in different places. Facial signals attached. They're totally natural. Can we be curious and appreciate this being fully human? Noticing thoughts, noticing emotions coming and going. And what's here right now? Can you hold it with an acceptance, a kindness, an appreciation? Ah, this is here right now. And now letting your attention to the thoughts and emotions fade away. Bringing attention back into the body, back to the breath. This breath, this moment. allowing yourself to feel whatever you're feeling. You might like to check into the body again, your posture. Is there anything you can let go of that you don't need to be holding on to? Maybe a softening of the shoulders, allowing the jaw to relax. And soon we'll be shifting into the last practice of today's mini retreat. So if you like, you can move the body in a way that feels good. And I'll speak for a little bit before we drop into practice again. Before this next practice, I'd like to invite you to go down memory lane and recall things that you really appreciate, that you're grateful for in life. And you might be recalling things that are small, insignificant, that usually go unnoticed. Maybe you'll recall things that came up in the practice that we've already done today. And you can do this in written form, jotting it down, what you're appreciative of, or you can just mentally reflect. What are some things that you really appreciate? As I sit here, I'm looking at images on people's frames, nature, flowers, pets, smiles. And as you bring these things to mind that you appreciate, also checking in, how does the body feel when you bring these things to mind? So that was just kind of like to get your creative juices flowing. Did you include on your list positive qualities about yourself? So you can answer that internally. Were there positive qualities about yourself that you included? Because usually we forget. We take so many things about ourselves for granted, and we tend to kind of focus on what we criticize ourselves for, what's wrong, what we're lacking, our imperfections, our weaknesses. Really easy to find something to stress about. And this is partly due to that negativity bias that Ben talked about. We've evolved to be on the lookout for threats, that which is not going well. It helped us survive, but this blocks joy. It blocks appreciation. And it gives us a real skewed, unbalanced view of ourselves and the world. So if we're only focusing on the difficult stuff, we can become heavy with despair. We know that our life is a mix of good and bad, bittersweet. Can we accept it all? The truth is in both. So yes, acknowledge the difficult and hardships, but also there's so much beauty and goodness and positive stuff in life. And we need to intentionally bring that into our awareness to have more of a balanced view. Tara Brach was once saying that we're at the point in our evolution where we can evolve our consciousness, and we can do this by choosing appreciation, choosing joy. So looking towards that which is uplifting and positive. So in this practice, we'll be looking at appreciating our own good qualities. And this allows us, it kind of brings this energy into our awareness. And it can have a huge impact on our sense of well-being. It's hard to acknowledge our good qualities because we don't want to feel like we're bragging or that we're vain or arrogant. It's not a problem to be fixed. And we know that these good qualities that we have, we don't always have them, just like the unhelpful qualities. So to help us be more appreciative of the goodness, we'll look at a few insights. One is common humanity. We're not alone. Everyone has strengths and good qualities. So if I acknowledge mine, I'm not saying I'm superior. It's just I have this gift sometimes and you have this gift sometimes. So including myself in this circle of appreciation. And also interdependent causality. We don't need to take our personal qualities personally. That sounds funny. But we have cultivated our qualities due to so many factors outside of ourselves. So self-appreciation is an expression of appreciation for all those beings that have helped us cultivate these qualities, shaped us into who we are. So we're actually honoring those who have helped us become who we are. The caregivers, the friends, the teachers, the authors. You can be creative with this practice. So self-appreciation is not selfish. It gives us this emotional buoyancy to deal with difficulty and to give to others. And these days, it's really important to have that buoyancy to keep us afloat so we don't drop into despair. So for this practice, I'd like you to allow the eyes to close again or just have them hooded, looking downwards. And coming back into the body. Reconnecting with this good body that has been helping us from the day we were born, doing its best to keep us happy. Noticing what's here right now. And then taking a moment to think about 3 or 4 things that you appreciate about yourself. And I'm actually going to show you some things that you might want to contemplate, because when I first did this practice, I couldn't think of anything until I saw this. So here it is. You don't have to open your eyes for this, but if you'd like some support. Thinking of 3 or 4 things you appreciate about yourself. If you are looking at this list and you start to notice judgments like, oh, I'm not enough of that, just give yourself some kindness. We're not saying that we're like this all of the time. So choosing some that really deep down you appreciate about yourself. You don't have to share this with anyone, so you can be totally honest. You're not saying that you're better than others, just that sometimes you show these good qualities. Acknowledging that this too is true. I'm going to stop my share. So focusing on one quality in particular that you appreciate. And consider if there are any people who helped you develop this good quality. Maybe friends, parents, teachers, authors. Beings who had a positive impact on your life. Role models. And as you think of each positive influence, sending them some appreciation as well. When we honor ourselves, we're also honoring those who have helped support and nurture us. So letting yourself savor just for this moment, feeling good about yourself, letting it soak in. And if you like, you might want to focus on another quality that you appreciate. And again, considering if there are people who helped you develop this good quality. And sending them appreciation as well. And noticing what's here right now in the body as you appreciate. Is there an openness, a tenderness, a softness, or not? Just noticing. And now releasing the practice, allowing your attention to come back into this good body of yours. Sensing yourself in the room that you're in. Sensing into the movement of the breath again. This breath that's given freely to us. We don't need to earn anything to deserve it. The body in stillness and the breath breathing. And before we end, you might want to consider one of these positive qualities that you'd like to really bring into your day. Or if it's nighttime for you, bring into the evening as well as tomorrow, the next week, rest of your life. Qualities you'd like to nurture. As what you practice grows stronger. So sensing the space around you. Letting your awareness move outwards. And I'll end this with the sound of the bell.
We're going to gradually begin to emerge from silence. I'd like to invite you to prepare for that. As you gradually start to open your eyes and move around, taking a moment to appreciate what has connected for you in the last 90 minutes. Not needing to compile a summary that is exhaustive, but asking yourself in these last 90 minutes, what one thing connected for me? What nourished me? And if you like, taking some moments to note that, maybe even write it down. It can sometimes be a useful exercise sometime in the coming day to take 5 minutes to journal about this experience, or tomorrow to take 5 minutes at some point, just set a timer and journal about it, just to kind of lock in. When we take a few moments to write or to talk with a friend, that helps us to remember, helps us. And again, what connected for you? Is there a way to incorporate a little bit more of that in your daily routine? What if you could have one more minute of peace each day, or 5 minutes of the peace that comes from releasing judgments, being present, and appreciating something about the present moment or something about yourself? And I would like to invite you, as we come out of silence, to share in the chat with the community what you've experienced during the last 90 minutes. And of course, if you have any questions to ask us, we invite you to ask the questions in the chat. We'd love to know, Siri and I would love to know what's the experience you've had. And we'd love to know any questions you have. We may not answer every single question. And of course, if you're not asking a question, you're also welcome to just continue breathing and smiling and savoring whatever has come up for you.